Neuroscientific research around habit-making behaviours has revealed that this three-part process called the habit loop is at play and creating and automatizing habits. It's a difficult word to say. Michelle McQuaid, she is a positive psychology researcher. She applies this research to strengths and studied over 2,000 employees across 65 countries. She found that people could create an 11-minute strength habit. I truly believe that if companies, organizations, schools, employers embraced character strengths, then we would all be much happier at work. So this might be something you want to explore for yourself. So we have a negativity bias. As humans, we are negatively biased. We are much more likely to focus on something bad that's happened than something good that has happened. The brain is wired for seeing flaws, problems, dangers. We all have that fight or flight response. The research around how bad is stronger than good, research about around the higher percentages of strengths, blindness, high disengagement levels at work, and low flourishing levels in the population, as well as research connecting character strengths with numerous kinds of positive outcomes, and research showing that it can be better to target what's best over trying to remediate a deficit, to change the deficit. So now narrow the question for yourself or your client. Why might character strengths matter? So this could involve linking strengths. If you're going to use this in a client session, it could involve linking the strengths to the client's reason for meeting that day. So why have they come? And linking their strengths. So for example, when I attend coaching as a client, my strength of perspective is that I'm going to get an outcome from the session, or after a number of sessions. So it also could involve linking the client's strengths to their overall goals and their personal values. So I invite you to delve into the what. What are the strengths of character? So it might involve conversations about the definition of character strengths. So most of our habits, both good and bad, are created automatically. Beyond our conscious awareness. Making a small change in your behaviour sounds straightforward. Yet many people are so overwhelmed that even when they understand how developing their strengths will make their job easier and more enjoyable, they lack the daily mental space and energy to start. Quite simply, it's easy to get lost in autopilot and daily habits. Consider a character strength you would like to build up. This could be a lesser strength or one of those in your top 10. In fact, it could be any one of your 24 strengths, one that you feel that you might want to boost in order to have a more positive outcome. So you're going to choose a cue, such as anchoring the habit to something you already do. For example, getting out of bed, cleaning your teeth. That would be one of self-regulation. It could be anchoring it to a challenging class if you are a teacher, or a specific time, like driving to work or eating your lunch. And that should be about a 30-second cue. So routine, you're going to create a routine around this. So embedding it in your environment, post-it notes, putting out art supplies, etc. I don't know what's happened there. Writing a journal, when you're going to do it. So when it is my lunch break, then I will brainstorm 5 new ideas, for example. Once you have created your routine, you're then going to practice. So we all know that creating a habit takes practice. When you practice this new strength habit, you are then going to reward yourself. However you wish to reward yourself. I don't recommend drinking a glass of wine when you're at work, but there could be some way that you could reward yourself by creating this strength habit. The second strategy I would like to share with you is imagining your best possible future self. So looking to the future is an important pathway to setting goals that are personally meaningful. It can give you perspective on the direction you want to go in. Linking character strengths with this imagined life can supercharge your goals. So this is something you can do for yourself. I would recommend, if you're doing it with a client, that they do it outside of the session and bring their notes with them. So take a few moments to select a future time period. This could be 6 months' time, a year, 5 years from now. One of my goals was to buy my own property, and it's a goal I set myself 5 years ago. I've now realised that goal, and my strength of perspective definitely helped with that. So imagine that at that time, whichever time period you choose, you're expressing your best possible self. So visualize your best possible self in a way that is pleasing to you and that you are interested in. Imagine the details really closely. You might think of this as researching your full potential or hitting an important milestone, perhaps realizing one of your big life goals. Reach high, but be realistic. After you've got a fairly clear image, write about the details. So for example, I want to buy a house. I want to buy a property. Where do you want to buy that property? What type of property do you want to have? Writing about your best possible self helps to create a logical structure for the future and can help you move on from kind of foggy ideas and kind of piecemeal thoughts to concrete, real possibilities. I highly recommend doing this over a couple of days, setting yourself a time limit, 15, 20 minutes, and you keep writing until the end of that time frame. Doing it more than once embeds that in your brain. So write about the character strengths you observe in this image and what you've written, and what character strengths you will need to deploy to make this vision a reality. So for example, I've already mentioned that perspective was one of the strengths that I needed to rely on to be able to see the big goal and when that could be realised. I think when I originally did it, I was 5 years down the line, so I'm a year ahead of my schedule. So write down your specific goal and the action plan that as a result from this exercise. You can narrow this goal or focus onto a specific area, and you could narrow this best possible self down to what this looks like at work, with your colleagues, if you're a teacher with your students, or think more broadly, how does this big picture help with my life goal and how can I use my strengths to get there? So here's an example. I see myself doing work that is meaningful and fills me with a sense of purpose as I help people reach their dreams on a daily basis. I will use my love of learning strength to return to school to study new topic areas. I will use my social intelligence to network with people in the helping profession and stay open to emerging pathways that might broaden my experiences. So I highly recommend, if out of anything, I would recommend this strategy above all else to help with future happiness. The final strategy I'd like to share with you is boosting a lower strength. A common and perhaps even universal behaviour that after a person takes the VIA strength survey is to look at their bottom strengths. I know I certainly did. People do have a natural inclination to judge these as weak areas and therefore want to improve them. Just a note that they're not weaknesses, they are lesser strengths. They are still apparent, they are still evident in us. They are just ones that are underused, underutilised, or not ones that we pay attention to. So they're not referred to weaknesses, since the VIA survey does not measure weaknesses, it measures relative strengths. Lower strengths might be less developed strengths, they're not valued as highly, or ones that don't come as naturally or as easy to us. They're working hypotheses to explore in oneself and in others as to reason why a strength is lower in one profile, and this is unique to each person. Research has shown support for working on signature strengths. There hasn't been as much for character strengths working on the lower strengths in the profile. I imagine that's happening now, but it's not something I have evidence for at the moment. So the purpose of this is to improve strengths use. Boost a strength you are less familiar with, widen your overall character strengths knowledge. So the first step is to take the VIA survey. Choose one of your lower strengths one of those that appear in the bottom 5 of your profile. You're going to use the lower strength in a new way each day. Some people might struggle to implement ways to use a lower strength, as these strengths are likely to be unfamiliar, not particularly energizing, and may seem inauthentic to use. One can remember or could lean on the towing effect, which refers to using one of your signature strengths to tow along or bring forward a lower strength. So you could link one of your top 5 to one of your bottom 5 and use them together to help you to boost your lower strength. So for example, one person's signature strength of curiosity can be used to tow along a lower strength of humility by using an interested or questioning orientation with different people at a party, so thereby placing the attention on others. So curiosity is high, they might tend to ask questions, but their humility is low, so they tend to take over the situation. So in research, one randomized trial found that a group of participants who worked on one higher strength and one lower strength had benefits for happiness compared to a placebo. Other studies have found benefits for groups who are focused on boosting a lower strength. Proyer and his colleagues, in their study, the participants experienced benefits to well-being when they focused on their lower strengths. And this effect was particularly strong for participants who were not high in terms of overall strengths endorsement.
I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you at the end.